Do you ever pine for the kinder, gentler days of yesteryear as far as travel is concerned? When getting on a plane was akin to being invited into the lap of luxury as you jetted your way into the wild blue yonder. Well, yeah, no, I've never really experienced that myself. Travel for me has always been something stressful. It's always been rush, 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 crowds, stand in line, cramped into a small seat. Travel today is it's hardly a pleasure. It's hardly a pleasure. But if we can do some things to reduce the amount of stress that we experience when we travel, if we can organize things so that we know that all of the different details, all of the agenda items, and all of our itinerary items are in place, then our life, our travel life, can be a lot better. That is what we are going to look at today on dottotech. I am using a travel app called TripIt that I am very pleased with, and you may be as well. Steve Dotto here. How the heck are you doing this fine day? At dottotech, we make technology easy so you can do more. And today, what we're going to do a little bit more of is we're going to do more being organized when we travel. Back when I started business travel, I used to have a travel agent that sent me a little package that had everything I needed in it, all of the phone numbers and all of my flight tickets. Remember paper tickets? They were awesome, weren't they? But I would get this little package that was couriered to me before I went off on a trip, and everything was taken care of. Every detail was in there that I needed to successfully complete my journey wherever it was I was going. Well, I don't use a travel agent anymore. I use online services. I book things myself, and often my details end up being scattered amongst emails and in Evernote and in a whole bunch of different places, in apps on my phone, in airline apps where the tickets might reside. So all of my information is all over the place. Well, TripIt is a tool that's been around for quite some time, but it does a great job of coalescing all of your travel documentation, all of your information, putting it in one place to make it really easy for you to refer to it when you're traveling. And not only does it collect everything, but it automatically will collect that information as well so that you miss nothing. Let's dive in and have a look. Now, this is my actual TripIt account. I have the basic version. You can upgrade to TripIt Pro for a little bit of money that adds some extra features such as tracking your points and stuff, but just the vanilla version of TripIt is pretty darn good for the amount of travel that I do, for example. So as a matter of fact, you can see I'm just planning here. I'm heading off in a few days for San Diego for Social Media Marketing World, but you can see my upcoming trips all listed out here on the left-hand side. So we're viewing it here in the browser. We will be showing you it. I will show you it in a moment on the smartphone as well. So typically speaking, all of the setup that I do typically happens in the browser, and then it's when I'm on the road that I start using the smartphone with TripIt with all of the information available to you. But what TripIt does is it organizes each one of your trips into trips, and within that trip there are different little agenda items, or they call them plans, for each trip. So you can see here that here's my flight to San Diego, and you can see that I'm planning on taking an Uber now, and then I'm going to be staying at the Hilton, and then I'm going to be going to a dinner. It actually pulls information in from other appointment calendars. This is actually coming in from Eventbrite, so it pulls information together. And this is kind of the first kind of point that I should illustrate to you is TripIt. If you enable TripIt to browse through your inbox of your email, they will constantly monitor incoming emails, and when it finds travel-related items, itineraries, tickets, it will import them into the appropriate trip. It's got enough intelligence built in that it will import it into the appropriate trip for you within TripIt, thereby eliminating the need for you to enter all of the information manually. And you can certainly enter it manually, but let's just go back. I'm going to go into my email here. And look here, you can see here that last night I booked this morning I booked a rental car. It sent me the itinerary. This is the itinerary that it sent me right here. And a few minutes later, I got notification from TripIt, both in email and on my smartphone, a notification on my smartphone, that it had automatically imported that itinerary into the appropriate trip. Now, this isn't for the next trip. This isn't for me going to San Diego. This is for a trip that I'm doing a little bit later this year when I'm going to Toronto. So it facilitates making sure that all of the information is in the right place at the right time. So I quite like that, and I think you will too as well when you start to use it. Now, if we go in and look at the details of any trip, let's just look at this trip to San Diego. You just click on the trip itself, and it brings you into this detail screen. And you can see that all of the basic information is there, such as your confirmation code, your time, the duration of the flight, if there's any layovers, seat details, and all of that sort of stuff is available to you here as you start. But if you have access to additional information, or you have somebody who's managing your travel for you, you've got all of these additional fields where people can enter information. You can have your travel agency information input here, so that if you need to contact your travel agency and they've booked it, you have all of their information available to you. Supplier information, booking site, if you booked through a travel site, you can add notes, and even photos can all be added to each agenda item or each plan that you have within the trip. Now, I created this Uber plan myself because I'm not renting a car, I'm using an Uber, but they've got a discount code available for the speakers that are speaking at this conference for Uber, so I basically get my ground transportation gratis. So that's where I store that information, so that when I book the Uber, I just go into TripIt and I find access to that code, so I can enter that code when I book my Uber trip. And I've got my hotel information all listed here as well. Now, if you start to add other types of agenda items, you can manually add them if you're not going to be importing them from email. So you can see the types that you can add, and there's some real open format ones. Like other ones, you can just decide if it's a meeting or it's something else that you're going to be putting together. But you've got all of these different types of plans that you can add. So if you were, say, staying in a hotel, you can open lodging, and then when you start a plan with lodging, it asks where you're staying, and let's say I'm going to be in New York. Let's say I'm in the Marriott in New York, Marriott, New York, and as I type in the information, you see that it actually has a pretty darn good listing of all of the different hotels that are listed that it finds in Google. So it will autofill a lot of the information that you have that you're going to need for this particular agenda item. Now, of course, this makes no sense because I'm going to San Diego. I don't need to book a hotel in New York, but you see that you can fill in all of this additional information, so you have it there at your fingertips. So here in the web browser interface, you've got access to all of your trips, all of your details, and you can enter those details and modify them here. But where the rubber meets the road for TripIt is when you're actually traveling. That's when it pays off. So I keep my TripIt in my navigation tab, and if I open it up, you see here that I've got the exact same information available to me on my smartphone as I have on my computer, and the two sync constantly. So if I go in and I take a look at the details on my upcoming speaking engagement that I'm flying to next week, I just tap on that, open it up, and it's got all of my information that I need accessible to me here, including links straight through to my air carrier's website, allowing me to do automatic check-in, do all of the seat management, any of that kind of stuff, all of the interactivity between the carrier's website and automatic check-in services or online check-in services. It's all linked through here into TripIt. So they've done a really sophisticated job of pulling each element together for us. Having a tool like this completely reduces stress in travel, all of the stress that you're going to have in travel, because, well, I shouldn't say it reduces it. It reduces it. It doesn't eliminate it, because obviously there's still stressful moments in travel. That's what travel's all about. Now, the biggest question that you're going to actually have as you set up TripIt is you're going to have some concerns about privacy, especially the fact that they will crawl through your email in order to find all of your itinerary items. Now, that's something that you can turn off. You can manually import all of the information yourself, but if you choose to use the automated services, I think you will be pleasantly surprised, perhaps even thrilled, with how effective TripIt is at finding all of your travel-related items and bringing them and making them available to you when you need them. It's a tool that I've now come to rely on, TripIt. There are other travel apps. TripIt's been around forever. Actually, when I looked at it, I realized that I've been using it since, actually the first time that I installed it was way back in 2009, I think. So it has been around forever. It gives you a nice summary of all of your travel that you're having this year. So you can look and see how many flight segments you've had, how many kilometers you've traveled, how many countries and cities you've visited. It gives you a measure of control at a time when we most need it, when we're on the road. TripIt. Quite like it. If you have any comments, if you have other travel apps that you like, I would love for you to share them in the comments below. I read each and every comment, even if I don't have time to reply to them all. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel, what the heck are you waiting for? Subscribe and ring that notification bell. Till next time, I'm Steve Dotto. Have fun storming a castle.